Welcome, traveler. Thank you for joining me today for part 1 of this original fantasy adventure, drawn from real Dungeons & Dragons gameplay. So light your lantern, perk up those ears, and listen well. The city of Vale Tharoon floated above the waking world, its marble towers suspended by spells older than memory. Tonight, the streets blazed with 1,000 floating lanterns and ribbons of colored fire twisted between the spires. The festival of Ember Lights had begun, a night when magic ran wild and every soul, honest or otherwise, wore a mask. Among the crowd, 2 figures moved unseen. Nira Valen adjusted the feathered mask over her eyes and melted into the shifting throng. Her leather coat was dyed the color of old smoke, and her boots made no sound on the cobbles. To an untrained eye, she was just another reveler lost in the music and laughter. Behind her, towering a full head above most of the crowd, lumbered Bronick Dolmar. His mask was a crude clay affair, half smiling, half frowning, a joke he had insisted upon. His broad shoulders jostled drunken nobles and giddy apprentices alike, drawing attention away from the lithe figure ahead. "Eyes up, Brick," Nira murmured into the sending stone pinned into her collar. "The Vault Mistress has let loose the Fire Watch. 3 patrols, standard circle pattern." Bronick chuckled softly, pretending to sway with drink. "Got it. I'll be the ugly distraction if it comes to it." "You are the ugly distraction," Nero replied dryly. Their goal lay ahead, the Sapphire Vault, a tower of blue glass and white stone that speared the heart of the city. For tonight only, the outer wards were weakened, blurred by the chaotic festival magic that overloaded the city's ley lines. They had 1 hour before the festival's climax. 1 hour to find the shard, steal it, and vanish into the night. No second chances. 3 weeks earlier, the idea had been handed to them. Dangerous, fragile, and half-formed. But it all began as so many adventures do, in a tavern. We flash back 3 weeks now to when the rain hissed against the windows of the Crooked Flask Tavern, the air inside thick with pipe smoke and the low murmur of private conversations. The tavern sat on the edge of Blackbridge Ward, where illusion magic faltered and the secrets were cheap but dangerous. Nira sat alone at a corner table, her hood up, fingers tracing the rim of a tin mug. Bronick slid into the seat across from her, his wet cloak shedding water onto the floor. He carried no smile tonight. "You're late," Nira said, not looking up. "Had to lose a tail, but some blue-robed scryer sniffing around the stone markets." He dropped a folded parchment onto the table between them. "But it was worth it." Nira glanced down. It was a map, crudely inked and half-burned, and sealed in places were arcane glyphs that shimmered faintly in the lamplight. "The Sapphire Vault," she whispered. Bronick nodded. "And more importantly, what's inside it? You heard of the Shard of Silent Bells?" She blinked. "Myth. Old war relic. Kills magic in a radius. Nobody even knows if it exists." "Oh, it works," said a voice from the shadows. A third figure stepped out from behind the curtain near the hearth, draped in deep violet robes and a hood shadowing their face. Their presence silenced the tavern for a heartbeat. Even the bard stopped playing. Nira's hand went to her belt instinctively, fingers brushing a hidden dagger, and Bronick stayed still, but shifted his foot beneath the table. The stranger raised both hands.
"I come with coin and information, not trouble."
"As you were then," Nira muttered, moving her hand from her dagger slowly.
"Vale Tharoon's going to crack open on Emberlight Night,"
the stranger said.
"The wards that hold that vault, they flicker when too much chaos pours through the ley lines. That night, they'll fail. Just enough."
Bronick leaned in.
"You want the shard stolen?"
"I want it removed from elven hands,"
the stranger said.
"What you do with it after is your business."
"And what's our stake in it?" Nira asked, narrowing her eyes. The hooded figure leaned close.
"Let's just say the Vault Mistress and I go way back, and I owe her a little revenge."
They tossed a velvet pouch onto the table and clinked with heavy coin.
"That's 3,000 gold pieces. Half now, half later. Take it, Sir. Don't put someone around here will.
Bronick snatched up the pouch and took a peek inside, giving Nira a nod after confirming that the pouch was indeed full of gold pieces. "We'll do it," said Nira. As the figure turned and walked out, Nira and Bronick sat in heavy silence, staring at the map, the coin, and the storm beginning to howl outside. That next morning, the storm had passed, but the scent of wet cobblestone lingered in the air. High above the city in a crumbling observatory long abandoned by its astronomers, Nira and Bronick unrolled the map of the Sapphire Vault across a cracked stone table. The map shimmered faintly with magic ink, flickering between diagrams of architecture and layers of arcane wards. Nira tapped one point near the southern wall. "Here's where the first blind spot is. The ley lines run uneven across the plaza. On Emberlight Night, festival magic floods the street, shorting out minor wards for about 40 seconds every 15 minutes. Bronick squinted.
So we slip in while half the city's tossing enchanted lanterns and guzzling spell wine?
That's the idea, he grunted.
Still sounds like suicide.
Nira offered a faint smirk. Only if you lead. Bronick leaned closer, studying a spiraling tower chamber at the map's center.
This vault, what's that symbol? Doesn't match the others.
Nira's face darkened slightly. It's a warning glyph. Old elven magic. Something about memory binding. Probably traps that track who enters and when.
Think your gloves can get past that?
Once, maybe twice. She turned her eyes toward him. You sure you're in for this, Brick? The shard's dangerous. This isn't some noble's gem box. Bronick rolled his shoulders.
I trust you, but something about this job feels cursed. Not trap cursed, but intention cursed.
Nira folded the map. Then we better beat it by being smarter than the curse. We do this clean, silent, one and done. She stood and reached into her coat, pulling out a shard of moonglass, carved like a crescent blade. She handed it to him. In case I don't make it out, she said. Bronick didn't take it.
You're making it out, he said firmly. Both of us are. We don't get to die. Not yet.
She looked at him for a long moment, then tucked the blade back away. Fine. Then let's plan like we mean it. As they discussed their plans, the Sapphire Vault stood like a spear of blue fire piercing the clouds, its spire crowned with a ring of ever-burning runes. Most days the outer walls hummed quietly with the wards, but this morning they screamed. Elevin Urel stood at the balcony of her private study, eyes narrowed at the magical turbulence riding across the tower's protective field. Her robes of pale indigo shimmered with sigils that moved like constellations, constantly shifting to catch errant spells. Behind her, a lesser warden spoke nervously.
The ley lines are disabling faster than predicted, Vault Mistress. Too many enchantments active across the city at once. Emberlight celebrations have always been risky, but...
She cut him off with a glance. The Sapphire Vault does not fail, she said, calm with no iron underneath. It bends, it adapts, and it remembers. She turned and glided across the room, pacing, her palm on a pedestal beside the great vault sphere, a crystal orb bound in silver rings that hovered in midair, projecting flickering visions from across the tower. Guards, traps, and magical sensors blinked in hazy blue light. She waved her hand, and the orb spun, with an image flickering into view. Two figures in a ruined observatory, one tall and broad-shouldered, one quiet, sharp-eyed. Nira Valen, she said coldly, and Bronick Dolmar, of course. The warden swallowed. You know them? Nira cracked the Twilight Archives in Dark Yvek, and Bronick smuggled arcane cores out of the river guilds during the revolt. They've danced around my wards before, but this time they've stepped too close. She touched the orb, and the projection vanished. Deploy the mirror sentinels, she said. triple patrols, and send word to the Ash Cloak. If those two really want the shard, this is their chance. The warden hesitated.
Oh, ma'am, the Ash Cloak's reputation
It's precisely why I want them involved, she snapped. Let them chase ghosts and thieves. If Nira and her brute enter my vault, they won't leave. Meanwhile, across the city, in a dusty gear shop, lit by morning sun, Branick tightened the straps on his illusion-dampening harness, while Nira inspected her phasing gloves. Everything was ready. And then the door slammed open behind them. A courier, barely more than a boy, stood panting.
Message for you. Urgent,
he rasped, handing Nira a sealed envelope bearing a silver eye. She opened it, and inside was a folded slip of paper, a note in elegant, curling script. She's seen you. Signed, E. Branick, knowing what it was from the silver eye, frowned.
she knows.
Now, in the present, the real moment loomed. The festival surges just beyond the stone walls, fireworks ready to split the sky, and the vault doors waiting in silence. There are no second chances, and only one shot, with time almost up. The sky had begun to bloom with the hues of twilight, violets smudging into burnt gold, the sun bleeding over the marble domes and hovering bridges of Vale Tharoon. In the high district of Morellis, paper lanterns floated upward like tiny stars, each lit by a whispered wish. Nira and Bronick sat at the edge of a shallow fountain, nestled between curving stone benches shaped like phoenix wings. Their gear was hidden beneath traveling cloaks, faces still bare. To the passerby, they looked like travelers resting from the road. Children darted around the plaza with ribboned wands, casting harmless sparks into the air. Vendors hawked candied lotus petals, floating sky orbs, and woven charms meant to anchor your soul through wild magic. Laughter echoed under the bridgestone walks above. Then, like an awed whisper from a time forgotten, a voice rasped behind them.
will you be joining the festival, darlings?
Nira turned slightly. An old woman stood behind the bench, bent over a cane shaped like a twisted dragon's tail. Her cloak was patched but well kept, and her silver hair was wound in a crown of tiny glowing fungi. Bronick blinked.
We might.
The woman laughed a dry, papery rasp.
Mine? Emberlight's no time for mine. The air's practically made for wonder tonight. You should be in it to not beside it.
Nero managed to smile. We're just passing through. The woman hobbled forward and sat down across from them with a groaning slowness of someone who'd walked too many roads.
Passing through? Nobody just passes through Vale Tharoon on Emberlights. No. That's a sign, child. A sign you're meant to remember tonight forever.
Bronick looked at Nira. Her expression was unreadable. The old woman peered at them both, eyes sharp and startlingly clear.
You've got the look,
she said softly.
The hush behind the heartbeat. Like you've already stepped one toe outside the world and just haven't told the other foot yet.
The two sat in silence. She reached for her satchel and drew out two tiny floating lanterns, each no bigger than a teacup, and handed them over.
No one should go into Ember Lights without a lantern. One for your hope,
she said, pressing it into Nira's hand.
And one for your fear,
she said to Bronick.
Set them loose at the hour of blue fire. Let them go. May they carry your secrets somewhere they can be forgiven.
Bronick held his lantern awkwardly.
I don't think they'll float right with me.
They'll float with what you leave behind,
she said, rising with a creak.
That's the trick to them.
She began to hobble away, then stopped and turned.
Whatever it is you're planning, children, don't forget to look up. No one ever looks up during the fireworks. That's when the quiet ones slip away.
And with that, she was gone, vanishing into the thickening crowd like fog in reverse. Nira stared at her lantern, watching the tiny rune inside pulse like a heartbeat. Veronica sighed.
I hate it when fate sounds like someone's grandmother.
Nira smiled faintly. She's right about one thing.
What's that?
Tonight will be remembered. Beneath the city, where the spelled drains wove through the bedrock like pulsing veins of light, there was a chamber no map acknowledged. A room carved from smooth obsidian veins, with sigils that moved as if they were alive. Here, the ash cloak waited. They did not sit, they never did. Instead, they stood barefoot in a circle of drifting embers that never touched the ground, face hidden behind the polished, expressionless mask of scorched bone. Their cloak, black as void, shimmered at the edge as though forever on the verge of catching fire. A small mirror shimmered in the air before them. Within it, Elevin's reflection spoke with clipped elegance. "The thieves will strike tonight," she said. "Disrupt them quietly." The ash cloak made no sound. The only response was a slow, deliberate tilt of the head. Elevin narrowed her eyes. "Do not kill them unless they force your hand. I want the shard intact." Still no reply, just embers floating, rising like tiny spirits. She exhaled through her nose. "Fine. But be warned, they're not ordinary criminals. The woman is a ghost with fingers sharper than razors. The man a boulder with no leash. Underestimate them, and you'll regret it." The mirror dimmed and vanished. Alone again, the ash cloak reached to a leather belt and removed a small glass sphere. Inside, a silver thread coiled tightly, bound with a seal written in an unknown language. They whispered, not aloud, but into the magic itself. "One walks with fire. One walks with sorrow. We meet beneath the bells, and one shall not walk out again." They crushed the sphere between their palms. The silver thread hissed into smoke, slithering away through the seams of the chamber walls. Far above, in the crowded streets and the rooftops of Vale Theroux, a dozen hidden watchers stirred, masked figures bound in ash-gray cloaks, eyes glowing faintly behind the silts of their hoods. Tonight, they would hunt in silence. The music of the umber light swelled across the upper tiers of Vale Theroux. Flutes chimed with the illusion-born bird song, drums pulsed like city heartbeats, and spell lanterns erupted into blossom-shaped firebursts above the canals. Crowds twirled and shouted along the floating walkways, intoxicated by color and light. But deep beneath the sapphire vault, in the utility tunnels that smelled of copper and forgotten smells, Nira and Bronick moved like ghosts. Nira's gloves shimmered, phasing her hands just enough to slide through solid metal. She disarmed the final rune lock with a flick of her wrist. Bronick caught it in midair before it clattered to the floor.
"Smooth,"
he murmured. "Quiet," she hissed back, not looking at him. Ahead was an auxiliary mana gate, a maintenance entrance meant only for arcane engineers. It flickered with unstable wards, overworked by the festival's drain on the city's ley lines. They had exactly 32 seconds of access every 15 minutes. Their time window opened in 5. Nira checked a flickering rune clock wrapped around her wrist. 4 minutes, she whispered. "This is where we move fast." Bronick exhaled.
"You still carrying that lantern?"
She tapped her coat. "Right here." He reached into his satchel, pulled out his own, the one given by the old woman.
"Tried to toss it earlier," he muttered. "Still floated back into my bag."
"Maybe it wants to watch us die," she said, after a half smirk on her face.
"Then it picked the right night."
They shared a breathless chuckle, then a froze of shimmer passed through the air above them. Footsteps, up in the vault proper. Bronick whispered.
That's not part of the patrol schedule.
Nira passed 2 fingers to the stone wall and closed her eyes. Her gloves pulsed faintly. Someone's here, she said. Someone cloaked in masking wards. High level. Tracking spell laced in ash. Brannick frowned.
That mean anything to you?
It means we're not alone. A soft pulse of magic surged through the air, and the mana gate shimmered once, then blinked out. The window had begun. Go, Nira hissed. They darted forward. Brannick hauled the gate open with brute strength, Nira twisting her body through like a ribbon of shadow. They slid into the passage beyond just as the magical shield began to shimmer back into place. Seconds later, silence as they proceeded on. The passage narrowed, and the air cooling of the enchantment shifted from defensive wards into something more precise, older, sharper. Behind them, in the tummel's darkness, a figure of gray emerged. The ash cloak operative paused before the mana gate and extended a gloved hand. A tiny ember leapt from their palm to the mechanism, freezing it in its current phase, undetectable but unstable. The figure stepped through after them. Nira halted at the entrance to a circular chamber of polished obsidian. The walls glistened as if coated in oil, reflecting faint candle light from nowhere. In the center stood a raised platform upon which hovered 6 glass spheres, each containing a faintly glowing sigil. Bronick frowned.
Looks simple.
It never is, Nira murmured, eyes scanning the room. She traced her fingers across the threshold, then pulled back sharply. Memory bindings. The vault mistress wasn't bluffing.
Care to explain before I accidentally make us forget our own names?
Nira crouched, her voice low. These spheres are tied to the vault's wards. To pass, we have to trigger them in a precise sequence. One mistake, and the room traps us in a memory loop. Bronick grunted.
Define memory loop.
Your mind runs in circles while your body rots. The lucky ones wake up years later, the unlucky ones don't. He rubbed the back of his neck.
Lovely. How do you know the sequence?
Nira pulled a thin shard of mirror from her belt and angled it toward the spheres. Reflections shifted across the surfaces, revealing the faint elven runes. Past, present, future, regret, duty, and desire. Vault Mistress Eleven likes her puzzles poetic. Nira's gaze flickered between the symbols. She binds you with what you can't let go of. Bronick looked at the runes, then at her.
So what's our biggest regret?
Nira didn't answer immediately. Her eyes lingered on regret, a symbol shaped like a broken crown. She clenched her jaw and pointed toward duty, then regret, then desire. Duty first, she said quietly, because we never had a choice. Regret second, because we always look back. Desire last, because it's the only thing that pushes us forward. Bronick nodded, not pressing her further.
You hit them then, and I'll keep watch.
Nira moved toward the spheres, each step careful, every breath calculated. Her gloved fingers brushed duty. The sphere chimed softly and pulsed blue. Then regret. A faint ripple of cold swept across the room. Then desire. For a moment, nothing. Then the room shifted, the walls rippling like water, the ground shuddering beneath their feet. Nira! Her knees buckled as memories flashed behind her eyes. Distant images of smoke, a burning tower, and a figure falling. She snapped back with a grasp. Bronick's hand was on her shoulder, steadying her.
You're here,
he said firmly.
You're here.
The obsidian walls settled, and a faint door-shaped outline appeared at the far end, glowing softly. The challenge had passed. Nira exhaled slowly, regaining her focus. We're through. Bronick squeezed her shoulder once, then released her.
Next time, pick an easier vault.
Next time, she said, her voice steady again. You can solve the existential puzzles. He chuckled under his breath.
Deal.
They moved toward the newly revealed passage, unaware of the faint, smoky figure watching from the darkness behind. slipping between reflections like a wraith. High above the chaos and song of the ember lights, within the argent spire of Morellus, Elevin stood before the heart glass, a crystal scry engine suspended in a chamber of floating stairways and rune-choked mirrors. Dozens of glowing threads hung from the heart glass like veins from the beating heart, each linked to a different part of the sapphire vault. Her silver robe shimmered with enchantments, her face sharp as a dagger unsheathed. "Thread 6 just pulsed," murmured a robe attendant beside her.
"Sequence activated. Duty, regret, desire."
Elevin raised her hand, silencing him, her gaze focused on the floating sigil trail projected from the crystal. "So the ghost remembers," she whispered. Another attendant, an old tiefling with pale red skin and curling golden horns, stepped forward.
"Should we send the ego god?"
"No," Elevin said. "Not yet. The ash cloak is already moving, and I want to see what they are capable of. Besides," she gestured, and the image within the heart glass shifted, zooming in on Nero's face, just as she stumbled from the memory trap. "I want to know if she remembers me." The tiefling raised an eyebrow.
"You knew her?"
Elevin didn't respond. This has been part 1 of The Shard of Silent Bells. Join me soon for part 2. Until next time, traveler.